Hello, guys, and welcome back to The Apprentice. And today we're talking about a certain cereal themed challenge. And I gotta say, it's becoming harder and harder to defend one team, but it's also becoming harder and harder to acknowledge how the other team are just getting a little bit lucky in some respects, because I thought both teams were pretty dreadful in this situation, and it almost makes me wonder whether this is somehow rigged, because I personally don't think either team should have won this challenge. Both of them were pretty laughably bad, but it is what it is. We move on, and I'm going to be breaking down all of the decisions, the business tactics, whatever, going into this episode. But before we get started, guys, make sure you are subscribing, hitting that subscribe button. We are on our way to 800 subscribers, and you guys can do it. We've got us to 700, we got us to 600, we got us to 500 against all odds. So make sure we keep on growing. But without much further ado, let's get into the episode, shall we? So, like I said, this was a cereal themed challenge. The idea was to create a cereal for 6 to 8 years old children and give them a augmented reality thing that goes with the cereal. I feel like a lot of the challenges on this show are bullshit, if I'm being 100% honest. Making a cereal makes 100% sense, but the whole augmented reality thing is not something that I've heard of being linked to cereal. I've never heard of it. Like, you don't see Kellogg's with bloody the chicken going "Bark, bark." Like, you just don't see that. It's not a thing. So I don't know why they were getting them to do augmented reality for cereal. It felt really awkward and clunky, but we're gonna move on. The team stayed the same from last episode, and I mean, I was expecting Team Supreme to lose because they've lost now what are we on? Episode 6. They've lost the 3 challenges that they've done together, and obviously then Verdi and Phil have lost the 2 before that as well. So it's just not been a good time for them, if I'm 100% honest. It's just not been great. And like a couple of times they've been just narrowly sort of outfoxed, but then sometimes it's just been like they've had the floor wiped with them, like absolutely wiped clean. Yeah. So the first team we're going to be talking about is Team Supreme. Sam was the project manager for this challenge, and there was talks of it being space themed, and I was like, okay, that's quite cool. There's a lot you can do with that. Is interesting because then you can have like fruit flavors from space, and it would be quite cool. And then Mora was like, oh, we should make it Arctic themed. And everyone but Sam was like, that does kind of limit us to certain colours and certain flavors and things like that. So like maybe we don't go with Arctic. And then Sam was like, no, I like the Arctic idea. I think there's a lot of room to grow there. And even Mora was like, there's so much more potential for Arctic than space. And I was like, really? Really? Like Arctic, which is famously like polar bears, snow, igloos, all white color scheme. Yeah, white and blue. That's what you're limited to. Okay, sure. Absolutely fine by me, I guess. So when it came to deciding on flavoring, they were told use this amount of flavoring in order to properly flavor the cereal, make it taste good, etc., etc., etc. They decided to go with passion fruit, pineapple, and banana. Now, I don't know why they decided to do this. Personally, I think this was a bad, bad, bad choice, because there was no link between the tropical flavors that they were using and the Arctic. Like, I wouldn't even know how to flavor Arctic other than just putting sugar in it. Like, Frosted Flakes would be a good like, you know, the Frosted Flakes by Kellogg's with Tony the Tiger. That would be a good sort of Arctic cereal. Passion fruit, pineapple, and banana is not. So that was immediately like a And then Phil was like, oh, it says that we should use XYZ, but I don't think we should. And Karen was like, they're just ignoring the advice. Right, okay, I guess, like, slay, go with it. Like, I'm not gonna stop you making this mistake, because it's a pretty big one. But yeah, it was bad. It was bad because I just thought, you're putting, instead of 45 grams per, like, packet, I guess, you're only putting in 9. That is a fifth of what you are recommended to put in. And we'll see whether that came back to bite them in a little bit, but let's just say it did. So when it came to designing the mascot, I actually thought that the polar bear design looked kind of cool. There was some aspects of it that I thought were a little bit weird, like the polar bear not having pants on. It was just a bit odd of a choice. And like, I just didn't think that the colours on it popped enough. Why was there a crown on its head? There was, now I'm thinking about it, actually there were a lot of problems with it, but I liked the idea of them using a polar bear. I thought that the end product wasn't horrendous, and it was a lot better than the other teams, let's just put it that way. So yeah, I thought it was cute. It gave that kind of animal theme. It linked very well to the theme that they were going for. And then when it came time to do the AR thing, I actually thought that the song and dance was a good idea. It's just I don't think it was very well executed. Phil tried his best to do the moves, and like, the moves were fun for like 5-year-olds, but like, this is 6 to 8, and so I feel like they would have needed just a little bit more challenge and just, I don't know, something a little bit better than this. Like, I think it should have just been a little bit more not technical maybe, but like just something a little bit more. I think they were on the right lines. It's just they didn't quite get where they needed to be, and that was a little bit frustrating. The name of the thing was Polar Crunch, which I think is a very, very cool name. That's absolutely fine. But on the design of the thing, Sam was just taking a while sort of making sure that everything was the right size and things like that, and then Flo was rushing her and it was kind of throwing her off, and then Phil was just kind of being Phil, sorry, going back, I want to go back to an earlier comment. The song and dance was done by Paul, not Phil. Phil was with Flo and Sam, so Sam was just having a bit of a mare with this, and they ended up just not putting cereal on the like design, which was a mistake, because then the packaging just didn't look like it was cereal. It looked more like it was fruit flakes or something like that. So yeah, it was rough is what it was. So when it came to actually pitching it to people and testing it with the children absolutely hated the flavour. In fact, they didn't hate the flavour, they just said it was bland. There wasn't a lot of flavour to it, which obviously comes from the fact that they didn't use the correct measurements of things. And apparently the banana was chewy as well, but like, banana is chewy, especially if it's been dried and put in cereal. Then when it came to watching the AR, some of the kids really liked it and really like vibed with it, but then some of them were like, this is for like my younger sister or something like that, and I was like, yeah, this kind of does suck a little bit. And then when it came to actually pitching it to the adults didn't really like the cereal either, and it just kind of does go back to the idea of like, why are you trying to come up with these crazy flavors, like combinations, when like, just go with something that's tried and tested. If you're gonna do berries, do berries. If you're gonna do banana, just stick to like banana and maybe like one other flavoring that works well with banana. I don't think banana, pineapple and passion fruit go together very nicely, and they certainly don't fit the Arctic theme. And I think that was represented in their sales, because a lot of people just weren't interested, didn't want to see it, didn't want it on their shelves, because again, the marketing wasn't great, the character wasn't great. It just lacked cohesion. Yeah. Moving on to Team Nexus. Now, Team Nexus put Steve in charge, and they decided to go on like a superhero route, which I thought was overdone, but here we go. It's fine. We'll move with it. Their flavouring was apple, chocolate, and raspberry. And here's my problem with this. Apple and chocolate do not go together. They just don't. It just is not good. Raspberry and apple go nicely together, but as juice. I don't know whether they'd go together as flavourings. So it just, again, felt like they were just sort of like, oh, what do we have available? Let's just, yeah, that's good. We'll go with that. And it just didn't, it just, again, I can't see it tasting very well, but we'll get onto that a little bit later. I cannot believe how bad Noor is. Like, she is, for want of a better word, delusional. But, like, I'll talk more about that in the boardroom, because I just noticed something that was so funny to me. But this character, this Mega Bella, is just boring. I don't even think it's that interesting. I thought the Arctic one was more exciting than this. But they just, I think they had an easier job because it's a person and it's not an animal, and they had like a good a better theme. I think they had an easier theme to make a cereal out of, because superheroes are big at the moment. They know kids like superheroes, so like, yeah, yeah, it is what it is. But Noor was also struggling with the video parts, and I thought the AR was just a bit dull. It was just kind of like, oh, find the gems, but the gems were like really easy to see, and it just lacked any kind of fun to it. Like, at least with the dancing, the polar bear dancing, it was somewhat interesting, and you could do it over and over again if you liked it. Whereas like this was like, once you've done it once, do you actually want to do it again? Not really. The cereal was called Power Hoops, which not a bad name, I don't think. And it just really did feel like Raj and Noor were over. No, not Noor. Felucia? Was Felucia with Raj? I can't remember. Somebody. No, it was Rach. It was Rachel and Raj were just overwhelming Steve. Everything he said was like, no, I think we should do this. I think we should do this. I think we should do this. And you could just see him getting flustered and a little bit anxious. And yeah, the flavouring. They didn't like the flavouring. It was not good. And the box design was all right. It just looked a bit busy. There was too much text on it. And I feel like the text could have been substituted for pictures. Do you know what I mean? Like, where the other group put like bananas and passion fruit on, this group wrote out their ingredients. They were like, this box contains this, 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 and this. And I was just like, I don't know, it just looked a bit naff. It didn't look great. So there was that. The kids hated the flavour of it, and they didn't really like the AR either. They found it quite boring. And then the pitch was just, it was just not great. Steve did his best, and then Noor was just kind of like a little bit awkward and like really trying to be like, oh, I'm Mega Bella, and it was like, ooh, yeah. I think it would have been better if she did that with the kids than with the adults, but it is what it is. But, and this is where I was like, okay, I don't think either team is going to do particularly well here. This was when the team got an offer of exclusivity from Iceland of 200,000 orders of their cereal for 3 months, and they decided to go with it immediately because they were like, oh, well, that's a big order. But then obviously everyone else was like, well, we're not going to do business with you because we want the exclusive rights. So it kind of did fuck them up there. But this is what I mean by, like, I didn't think that their cereal taste, like, from everybody who tasted it, everyone hated it. Everybody hated it. It didn't test well with the kids, and they're the market audience. So, like, how are these adults tasting the cereal and going, yeah, that's good. Let's buy this. Let's put this on our shelves. just felt a little bit rigged. Yeah. Into the boardroom now, and we're going to start with Team Supreme. Lord Alan Sugar was basically like, yo, there was no synergy between the flavours you used and the theme of the box, which was the Arctic. Why are you using tropical flavours in that kind of setting? And Sam was like, okay. It just tasted bland because of the wrong measurements. But then again, I always think it's better a cereal tastes bland than shit, which is what the other teams tasted like, apparently. The cereal wasn't branded very well. Like, looking at the packaging, it doesn't look like cereal, which is a problem. Like, there's no bowl of like milk with like cereal in it. Like, that would have just been a really easy fix. And yeah, but I think they did like the video. They did like the AR. They said it was a little bit too childish, but it still worked well and was entertaining. As for Team Nexus, Rachel accused Steve of inaction and just being a bit of a shitty project manager, which I didn't think was fair. I think he was doing his best, but Rachel and Raj were just like, they're very overpowering people at time, and that's absolutely fine. But when it comes to like Steve, they just kept on like talking over him and things like that, and it felt really uncomfortable to watch at times. But it is what it is. The AR was a bit shit, but this is what I mean by no, whatever she produces, she's proud of. She's so proud of it. She's so sort of like on it. She's like, oh yeah, that was good. That was good. Yeah. Even when like Alan Sugar's like, that was shit. That was so bad. She's like, no, I think that was good. I think that was good. It wasn't, is what I would say. And last but not least, they were told that the exclusivity, whatever, hindered them from getting more orders. But it didn't really matter anyway, because like they absolutely wiped the floor with the other team. So it is what it is. We move on. I actually do feel bad for the other team now, because I just feel like they're getting bullied. Like, actually getting bullied. Like, the more I research into The Apprentice, the more I'm realizing it actually is rigged. But that aside, I'm just commentating on what I'm seeing on TV. So it is what it is. So, the results. Nexus got 200,000 orders and Supreme only got 7,500. Which means there was a difference of 192,500 orders between them. Which is crazy. That's crazy. That's a disgusting difference. Wild. But we're back in the boardroom. So, Sam admitted that she didn't notice the link, or she didn't notice the lack of a link between the flavours that they used and the branding that they went for. And then also they were talking about the dancing being aimed for younger kids. But Maura backed the decision of both of these choices, and it just feels like another nurse situation where like she can't necessarily admit when something's wrong and something was ill-advised, and it did just feel a little bit awkward and clunky. But Sam ultimately decided to bring back Phil and Maura, which I think were the absolute right choices. Phil fucked up on the flavouring. Maura suggested the Arctic thing, made the character, which got some flack, was in charge of the design of the dance and video. So, like, it made sense to bring those two back. And then Sam was like, Phil, you're hard to manage. Like, there's a reason why you've lost 6 challenges, because, like, and Sam was like, Phil was like, there's never been a reason why I'm the person that has destroyed the challenge. And then Alan Sugar was like, until now. I do think Phil should have been fired. And I think it's actually really unfair that Phil wasn't fired. And this is what it comes down to when I say that the show's rigged, is I really do feel like Alan Sugar already knows their proposals at the end for businesses, and he's just not interested in Sam's business proposal. And therefore, he's fired her because, like, what's the point in keeping her around? Whereas there's got to be... Phil must have the best fucking business proposal in the world. In the world. Because how is he still here after 6 challenge fails? 6 challenge fails. I'm sick and tired of it. But that is all we have time for today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. Am I gutted that Sam has left? Absolutely. She was my pick to make it to the final, but is what it is. Not much I can do. I've known that she's gone for a couple of weeks now because I have been behind, but it is what it is. Yeah, tough, tough, tough. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all of that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well. And I'll see you guys in the next episode of whatever I do. Apprentice will probably be coming out on Saturday, I would hazard a guess. So make sure you stick around for that. But in the meantime, thank you guys very, very much for watching. And I'll see you guys later. Keep on ranting. Bye now.